chosen one. Pause for a moment. Heaven has stopped everything around you because there is something you must hear before December 13 arrives. This isn't another random day on the calendar. It is the date that heaven marked long before you were born. Something unseen is drawing near a test, a shifting, a revealing, and your spirit already knows it. You have felt the pressure in the air, the restlessness that doesn't let you sleep, the sense that something greater than you is preparing to unfold. Listen carefully. This is not fear speaking, this is prophecy awakening. For too long, you have survived without realizing that heaven has been aligning every event of your life toward one divine moment. December 13 is not your end, it is the unveiling of who you really are. Every wound, every disappointment, every silent prayer you thought God ignored has been a training ground for the revelation now at hand. The realms are moving. The unseen hosts are watching. There is a stirring in the atmosphere that only the chosen can discern. You have felt misunderstood because your spirit doesn't belong to the ordinary. You are a carrier of light, and light always attracts warfare. But do not fear the battle ahead, for you were born for such a time as this. The voice of heaven whispers that the coming test will not be against your strength, but your alignment. The question is not whether you can fight, but whether you will stand still and trust. Many around you will call it coincidence, but the chosen know this is divine appointment. The world will go on as usual, but inside the spirit realm, seals are being opened, names are being confirmed, and crowns are being measured. You might have noticed the strange signs lately: repeated numbers, sudden disruptions, unexpected emotions. These are not random, they are the pulse of eternity calling your attention. Heaven is saying, "Wake up, beloved one. The hour is near. The winds of change are whispering your name." Everything around you seems unsettled because heaven is rearranging your path. What felt like chaos is actually divine order forming behind the veil. You are being positioned in places your prayers have already prepared. Stand still, your shift is beginning now. Even the silence has meaning. The delays, the closed doors, the unanswered calls, all of it has been heaven's way of protecting your momentum. You were never being punished, you were being preserved. Every pause has purpose, and every waiting season has been heaven's rehearsal for your revelation. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 42, "Therefore keep watch, for you do not know the day when your Lord will come." Those words were not only for ancient times, they echo right now. December 13 is not a date to fear, but a call to readiness. This is why the attacks have intensified. The confusion, the delays, the feelings of isolation, these are last-minute distractions meant to make you lower your guard. But you must not waver. You are standing at the edge of your divine proving ground. The enemy cannot destroy you, but he can deceive you into giving up your authority. Refuse to surrender it. Stand in your identity. The heavens are shifting because your assignment is entering its activation phase. The final test will not be about what you can achieve, but about what you can surrender. Are you willing to let go of what no longer serves your destiny? Are you ready to stop shrinking just to make others comfortable? Because on December 13, heaven will require an answer. Listen, this message did not find you by chance. God's hand guided it to your screen because he knows your heart has been crying out for confirmation. Here it is. You are not late. You are right on time. The very pressure you feel is proof that breakthrough is near. Every chosen soul must pass through a night before dawn. But remember this, the night is not punishment, it is preparation. The darkness before December 13 is only the backdrop for your unveiling. Heaven is watching to see who will trust, even when there is no sign of progress. So, take a breath and fix your gaze upward. You are not ordinary, and you cannot afford to treat this season casually. Mark the date. Guard your spirit, and prepare your heart. This message is your trumpet call, your divine alert. The time for spiritual sleep has ended. Now, if these words have resonated with the deepest part of your soul, do not keep them to yourself. Share this message so that other chosen ones can awaken before it's too late. Like this message if you feel the stirring of destiny within you. And subscribe so you will not miss what heaven reveals next. And finally, as an act of faith and alignment, comment the number 777 below. Let it be your declaration that you choose obedience over fear, readiness over hesitation, destiny over distraction. December 13 is approaching, and heaven is watching who responds. You have carried more than most. Chosen one, the weight you feel pressing against your chest is not weakness, it is the evidence of your calling. Heaven has trusted you with pain that others could not survive. Every sleepless night, every tear that fell without witness, every disappointment that made you question your worth was never wasted. You were not being broken, you were being built. There are things you have endured that no one knows about. The betrayal that scarred your trust, the loneliness that visited you even in a crowd, the silent prayers that turned into whispers of exhaustion. All of these moments were bricks in the unseen foundation of your destiny. God was not ignoring you, He was training you. The refining of a chosen one rarely happens under applause. It happens in obscurity, in silence. In the moments when you feel most forgotten, the heaviness that followed you was not a curse, it was a mantle. There is a kind of strength that only comes from surviving storms that should have destroyed you. Heaven saw every night you cried yourself to sleep and whispered, "Hold on, because this pain will one day speak purpose." What you have been carrying is holy weight, the kind that shapes character and reveals divine endurance. You were set apart early, even when you didn't realize it. The rejection you faced was divine redirection. People left you not because you were unworthy, but because they were never meant to understand your anointing. Isolation has been your secret classroom. Every time someone walked away, heaven stepped closer. Every unanswered question was teaching you to lean not on what you see, but on what you know inside. Heaven never wastes pain. Every hardship has been collecting interest in your favor. You are walking proof that survival is not just endurance, it's prophecy in motion. The scars you carry are sacred testimonies of battles won in silence. You have been wrestling angels and shadows alike. But through it all, something inside you refused to die. That something is your divine spark, the mark of those whom God refuses to let fall. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 30, verse 5. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy will come in the morning. The night has felt endless, but morning is approaching. The tears that once blurred your vision are washing your eyes for the sight of new beginnings. Every chosen vessel must first be emptied before it can be filled with glory. The crushing, the stripping, the moments of loss, they were not punishments, but prerequisites. Heaven cannot pour new oil into old containers. And so everything outdated in your life had to be broken. Friendships faded. Opportunities collapsed. Dreams shifted, all to make space for something purer, stronger, and truer to your destiny. Do you realize how much strength it takes to keep standing when everything inside you wants to collapse? That strength is not human, it is divine. It is the evidence that heaven's hand is still upon you. You are not weak for feeling tired, you are faithful for not quitting. Even when your prayers felt unanswered, they were being stored in heaven's archives, waiting for the moment of release. There is a reason why others look to you, even when you feel empty. Your endurance speaks louder than your words. Your persistence in the face of pain is preaching a silent sermon that others can feel. Heaven chose you, not because you were the strongest, but because you were willing. Willing hearts move heaven faster than perfect performances. The danger of carrying such divine weight is that it can make you believe you are alone in it. But you are not. The same God who called you into this storm is standing within it. Every wave that threatened to drown you was also the water he used to wash away what was never meant to follow you. The weight you carry is proof that heaven trusts you with more. Many desire the crown, but few can bear the cross that comes before it. You have borne yours quietly, faithfully, and without recognition. But the unseen realms have taken note. The angels that once strengthened Elijah in his despair are strengthening you now. So, breathe. Chosen one, the weight is not punishment, it is preparation. You have not been forgotten, only fortified. Heaven knows exactly how much pressure you can withstand, and you are almost at the moment when the weight becomes wings. Remember this, the pain that once bowed your shoulders will one day become the testimony that lifts others. Your story is not ending here, it is gathering power. You are stepping into the phase where everything you endured will finally make sense. Hold steady, because the morning is near, and joy always follows those who endure the night. Chosen one, can you feel it? The tension in the atmosphere has grown heavier, not because you are losing ground, but because the enemy has recognized your rising. You have been walking through a season where everything seems slightly off, plans collapse, distractions multiply, and your peace is tested at every turn. That is not coincidence, it is a silent setup. The forces of darkness do not waste energy on those who pose no threat. They only target those whose obedience carries weight in heaven. Every unexpected delay, every confusing detour, every sudden emotional wave, it all serves one purpose: to make you forget who you are right before your defining moment. You have been under spiritual observation. The enemy cannot read your thoughts, but he studies your patterns. He has noticed your weariness, your frustration, your hesitation, and he is betting on them to stop you from crossing into the fullness of what God promised. But what the enemy fails to understand is that even your exhaustion has been sanctified. Heaven has not abandoned you. It is using this very pressure to expose the cracks that must be sealed before the final test. The darkness is not as powerful as it appears. It simply knows how to disguise distraction as destiny. It sends counterfeit comfort when you are most tired, false validation when you crave peace, and opportunities that sparkle but drain your soul. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Those words were not empty promises. They are divine assurance that no plot formed against you can alter the design of heaven. The trap is subtle. It doesn't look like danger. It looks like distraction dressed as opportunity. It asks for small compromises that feel harmless. Tiny decisions that pull your heart slightly off course. But over time, they add up until you realize you've drifted from the center of your calling. That is why you've been feeling uneasy lately. Your spirit senses the interference before your mind does. This is not the time to question whether God is with you. His silence is not absence, it is strategy. Sometimes, heaven goes quiet so that you can learn the sound of your own spirit amidst the chaos. Every true warrior must learn how to hear divine instruction even when the battlefield roars. You are being trained in that discipline now. Do not be alarmed if you find yourself losing interest in old habits or connections that once felt safe. That is heaven decluttering your atmosphere. It is making room for precision because the next assignment will demand it. When God elevates you, He always simplifies you first. Every chosen one experiences this moment when you feel the opposition intensify right before breakthrough. That is your confirmation. The pressure is not punishment. It is proof that you are near the threshold of change. The more resistance you face, the closer you are to the unveiling. So, guard your thoughts. Protect your peace. Refuse to let temporary discomfort convince you to abandon eternal purpose. When doubt whispers, remind yourself that you are not fighting for victory. You are fighting from victory, already declared in heaven's courtroom. Even now, unseen angels are positioning themselves on your behalf. The same God who closed the mouths of lions for Daniel is preparing to silence every false accusation against you. The schemes that were meant to humiliate you will become the very stage for your vindication. The enemy believes he has studied your weaknesses, but he has overlooked your resilience. He doesn't understand that every attack only awakens your faith further. What was meant to break you is about to confirm your anointing. So here is your moment of alignment. Type, I stand firm. Type it as an act of spiritual declaration, not mere words. When you write it, you are announcing to the unseen that you recognize what's happening, that you refuse to be manipulated by distraction, that your heart remains fixed on purpose. You are saying to the heavens, my loyalty is decided. This is not just a comment, it's a covenant. Heaven honors the declarations of the faithful. Each time you affirm truth in the middle of warfare, you push back darkness and reinforce the authority already inside you. Let your words carry weight. Let them echo beyond this screen and into your atmosphere. You are not falling apart, you are being fortified. The setups of the enemy are being turned into setups for revelation. You are walking through a battlefield disguised as confusion. But when the smoke clears, it will be known that you stood your ground. Hold steady. Chosen one, the shaking around you is proof that the unseen world recognizes your ascent. You were never in danger of losing. You were simply being reminded of how powerful your obedience truly is. Chosen one, you have wondered why it felt like God hid you when others were being celebrated. You watched people rise while you remained still. You tried, pushed, and believed. Yet heaven seemed silent. You questioned, did I miss something? Did I do something wrong? But you didn't. What felt like divine absence was actually divine concealment. You were hidden in plain sight, not forgotten, but protected. There are seasons when heaven hides its greatest warriors so the enemy cannot find them too soon. The silence you endured was not rejection, it was strategy. God saw the traps being laid around you. And rather than expose you prematurely, he cloaked you beneath obscurity. Every time you felt invisible, heaven was building your strength in secret. Every unanswered prayer was a shield against something that wasn't ready for you, or something you weren't ready for yet. You must understand, premature exposure destroys purpose. The spotlight is not safety, it is scrutiny. God does not rush his chosen ones into visibility because he knows how fragile calling can be before it matures. The same sun that makes fruit sweet can scorch it if it rises too soon. So, he covered you. While others were being seen, you were being shaped. While others were gaining followers, you were gaining fortitude. Heaven was teaching you patience, humility, and discipline, the virtues that sustain destiny when applause fades. You were learning to serve quietly, to move without validation, to walk by faith when nothing confirmed your direction. The world measures progress by visibility, but heaven measures it by obedience. Each hidden year of your life has been divine investment. You thought you were standing still, but in truth, you were being positioned. The cocoon always looks like confinement until the butterfly breaks through. There were moments when you felt frustrated, watching others walk into what looked like their promise. But you couldn't see that their doors opened because their assignments were smaller, while yours required deeper roots. What takes others months takes you years, because your destiny will carry generations within it. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy. Chapter 31, verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. These words are not meant only for times of battle. They are the anthem of those who walk unseen, knowing that God's presence is enough even when human applause is silent. Hiddenness is heaven's mercy. It shields you from counterfeit crowns and false affirmations. It teaches you to hear God without noise. It tests your motives. Will you still serve when no one claps? Will you still believe when no one notices? These are the questions that prepare chosen ones for true authority. Because when the unveiling comes, you will not be shaken by praise, nor wounded by criticism. You will have learned to live by truth alone. You were not meant to bloom in every season. There are winters in every divine story, times when the soil looks barren, but life is secretly forming beneath it. You may have felt buried, but seeds are always buried before they grow. The darkness around you was not death, it was depth. You were going deeper so that when the light comes, your roots would hold strong against every storm. Look back for a moment. Remember the people who left, the doors that closed, the opportunities that faded. At the time, they felt like loss. But now you see they were divine protection. Not everyone who claps for you is assigned to walk with you. Heaven removed what could not survive your next level. When you were hidden, you learned something the visible rarely understand. You discovered the voice of God without needing proof. That voice became your anchor, and soon it will become your authority. When the unveiling comes, people will wonder where you came from. They will not realize you were always there, simply covered by grace until the appointed hour. So do not despise the quiet seasons. Do not rush what God is still refining. You have not been delayed, you have been preserved. Your unveiling will not come from striving, but from timing. The same God who hid you will reveal you. And when he does, no one will be able to shut the doors he opens. The wait is not punishment, it is proof that heaven has something too sacred to expose before its time. Stay still in the shadows. Your sunrise is already written. You have come to the crossroads. Chosen one, the place where light and shadow meet. December 13 is not simply a day, it is a spiritual intersection where heaven pauses to see which path you will take. One road leads back to the familiar, the comfort of patterns, the echo of old fears. The other leads forward into purpose, into a landscape that faith must create before your eyes ever see it. This is the hour where hesitation costs more than failure. Heaven is whispering, choose wisely, because what you decide in this season will echo far beyond the day itself. The atmosphere is charged with divine evaluation, not as punishment, but as invitation. You are being called to rise. Imagine a traveler standing before two rivers. One flows gently, inviting rest but leading to still waters that never move. The other rushes wildly, unpredictable, yet full of life. That is your choice now. One path offers ease, the other growth. God will not force your hand. He gives you the dignity of decision. Heaven is not testing you to see if you can perform. It already knows your potential. This test is to show you who you are when fear confronts faith. When you choose obedience over comfort, you prove to yourself that the anointing you carry is greater than your emotions. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the revelation awaits an appointed time, it speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it, it will certainly come and will not delay." This is the essence of your crossroads, trusting the appointed time, even when it feels delayed. Every chosen one faces a moment like this when heaven stands silent, watching if your heart will lean toward faith or convenience. The danger of December 13 is not the darkness outside, it is the doubt within. If you surrender to fear, the script heaven wrote for you remains sealed. But if you step forward, even trembling, heaven will rewrite your story in light. Think of your life as a manuscript written in invisible ink. The ink becomes visible only under the fire of obedience. The fire does not destroy the words, it reveals them. Every act of trust you take, every moment you choose God over comfort, brings the next line of your story to life. There will be people who won't understand your decision. They may tell you you're being foolish, too intense, too spiritual. Smile gently, because they're not meant to understand. The light inside you disrupts the comfort of darkness. You were not called to fit in. You were called to stand out as living proof that faith still works. You have felt the tug to play small, to dim your glow so others would not feel threatened. But December 13 demands courage. Heaven does not anoint the timid, it anoints the willing. And you, beloved, have been chosen because even in fear, you still listen. Now, I want you to take a moment and breathe. Let your heart be still. If these words are finding you, it's not by coincidence. It means heaven is reminding you that your journey is sacred and you are not walking it alone. And I say this with sincerity, if these messages have spoken to your soul, if they have comforted you in dark hours or awakened your faith when you were tired, then let's keep this light flowing together. Take a moment to like this message, not as a formality, but as an act of gratitude to heaven for still speaking in your life. Share it so another weary soul might remember who they are before it's too late. Sometimes the message that saves someone's life is one you help deliver. You never know whose midnight prayer your small action might answer. Subscribe if you want to stay connected to this stream of divine truth. Think of it like staying close to the campfire in a long night. The warmth, the light, the steady voice reminding you that you're not alone. And if your heart feels stirred to donate, do it as worship, not obligation. Every seed sown into this work helps carry the message further to prisons of despair, to hearts on the edge of surrender, to souls that think heaven has forgotten them. Giving is not about money, it's about multiplying light. The crossroads are before you, and heaven watches silently, not in judgment but in anticipation. You are standing at the edge of something eternal. Step forward, not because you see the whole path, but because you trust the one who wrote it. On December 13, when the unseen realms open, may heaven find you on the side of obedience, standing firm in faith, your heart burning like a lantern that refuses to go out. Chosen one. Have you noticed how your dreams have shifted lately? The images, the symbols, the sudden wake-ups at unfamiliar hours, they are not random. Heaven speaks in whispers while the world sleeps. Every vision, every recurring scene, every face or word that lingers when you wake, these are divine signals. The test draws near, and heaven is using your dreams to prepare your spirit before your mind even understands. Dreams are not merely stories, they are blueprints of destiny written in symbolic language. Sometimes they come as warnings, other times as confirmations. They carry the weight of spiritual instruction disguised in pictures. You have been receiving messages while your body rests, because when your eyes are closed, your soul listens better. Lately, your spirit has been restless for a reason. You've seen things, doors opening, shadows watching, waves rising, faces fading. Pay attention. You are not going insane, you are awakening. The language of heaven is not spoken in words alone, it is transmitted through impression, vision, and timing. Heaven uses dreams to show what the eyes cannot yet see in daylight. Joseph was given a dream that revealed his future when his reality looked nothing like it. Daniel was shown kingdoms and empires while he was still a prisoner in Babylon. You, too, are being shown glimpses of your calling so that when the shaking begins, you will recognize it as prophecy, not chaos. The enemy also knows the power of dreams. That is why your nights have been under attack, why you wake up heavy, why confusion tries to follow you through the day. But remember this, the devil can mimic, yet he cannot create. His goal is to distort what heaven reveals. That's why you must cover your rest in prayer, asking for clarity and protection before you close your eyes. The darkness cannot invade a heart guarded by divine authority. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 24, when you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. These words are your spiritual shield. Speak them before you sleep, and you will notice how the night becomes less heavy. The air around you will shift, and what once carried fear will carry peace. Some of your dreams have been confusing, almost too vivid. But not all confusion means danger. Sometimes it's your soul trying to translate heaven's language. Write them down. Record every detail. No matter how strange, over time, the pieces will connect like a puzzle. What seems random today will form revelation tomorrow. Heaven never speaks without purpose. And when you dream of things breaking, burning, or ending, do not panic. Often, Those images are not about destruction, but release. Heaven shows endings before beginnings, so you won't cling to what must go. Your dreams are cleansing you from attachments that can't follow into your next season. You may have dreamt of being chased or surrounded. Understand this: the greater your calling, the more intimidation darkness attempts. The enemy attacks your rest because he fears your awakening. If he can keep you anxious through the night, he can weaken your discernment by day. But the moment you recognize the pattern, his influence loses power. Awareness is your weapon. And now, heaven is asking you to respond. As a prophetic act, type 444 inches, the comments. Let it not be just a number, but a declaration: my dreams belong to God. The number 444 symbolizes divine alignment and angelic protection. It is heaven's reminder that the unseen hosts are surrounding you, guarding your path, even while you sleep. When you type it, you're not engaging in ritual, you're responding in faith. You're telling heaven, I'm listening. Every number typed is like a spark of light across the timeline of your destiny, visible to the unseen, powerful in the spiritual. You are not crazy for dreaming deeply. You are not strange for remembering details that others dismiss. You are being trained to see beyond the visible. This is how prophets are awakened, not through sermons, but through nights that whisper truth. So tonight, when you lie down, close your eyes with intention. Whisper, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. Expect revelation. Expect visitation. The same spirit that hovered over creation now hovers over your rest. The atmosphere of your room will change. Peace will settle like a blanket. And what once frightened you will now instruct you. The test is coming, but it will not surprise you, because heaven has already shown you pieces of it in your sleep. You are ahead of the storm because grace always warns before it moves. Trust what you see when it aligns with truth, and release what brings confusion. The more you trust his whispers, the clearer they become. Dream boldly. Chosen one, you are not sleeping, you are downloading destiny. Heaven is speaking, all you need to do is listen. Your crown has been contested. Chosen one, the invisible world knows who you are, even when you struggle to believe it yourself. You were marked with divine authority long before you understood your purpose. And because of that, darkness has worked tirelessly to convince you otherwise. The warfare you face is not random, it is the cost of your identity. There are spirits that have studied your lineage, patterns of struggle that have run through generations, hoping you would repeat them. But you are the interruption heaven designed. You are the one who carries the assignment to end what enslaved your family line. The enemy fears your awakening because the moment you realize your authority, his influence over you ends. You have felt that resistance in your relationships, your finances, your emotions. People who once supported you suddenly turned cold. Opportunities that looked promising dissolved without reason. That is not coincidence, it is confrontation. Every time you get closer to your next level, the atmosphere reacts. The spirit of opposition rises, not because you are failing, but because you are advancing. The prophet Elijah spoke as recorded in the first book of Kings, chapter 18, verse 21. How long will you waver between two opinions if the Lord is God? Follow him. That question still echoes now. This is the season where heaven demands clarity, where you must decide once and for all which voice you will believe. You cannot wear a divine crown while bowing to the opinions of men. Your crown is not made of gold, it is woven from obedience. It shines with humility and endurance. Every time you chose forgiveness when bitterness would have been easier, another gem was added. Every time you prayed, instead of complaining, your crown grew brighter. The enemy cannot touch it directly, so he attacks your confidence instead. He whispers lies that make you question whether you are worthy to wear it. Understand this, crowns are not given, they are revealed. Heaven already placed yours upon your spirit, but your eyes are still learning to see it. When you walk in alignment, it becomes visible to others, though they might not understand what they're seeing. Some will be drawn to you because of it. Others will be irritated without knowing why. That is the effect of divine authority. It attracts and exposes simultaneously. You have probably noticed certain people growing uncomfortable in your presence. They avoid eye contact. They minimize your achievements, or they accuse you of pride. Don't take it personally. The light of your anointing reveals shadows they haven't faced yet. Sometimes, your mere existence challenges their complacency. That is why the chosen often walk alone. But solitude is not punishment, it is purification. When God crowns someone, He first isolates them. He removes voices that would dilute purpose, friendships that would feed doubt, and influences that would distort identity. The silence you feel is heaven's way of fitting the crown properly. It is a moment of divine calibration. Your calling cannot coexist with compromise. The higher the crown, the greater the pressure. Every weight of glory must be carried by a disciplined vessel. That is why the attacks intensified as you grew. Heaven trusts you with more, so the enemy tries harder to distract you. There is an invisible courtroom in the heavens where your name has been mentioned. Accusations have been raised, and yet grace has spoken louder. You stand not by perfection, but by mercy. Your crown is not earned, it is inherited through obedience. And no demon, no betrayal, no delay can revoke what God Himself established. You must understand the symbolism of the warfare you are in. Every rejection you face is a reminder that you no longer belong to ordinary circles. Every delay you endure is proof that timing must align with glory. The greater the assignment, the stricter the preparation. Heaven will not let you be crowned in a place too small for your anointing. So, when you feel misunderstood, remember, kings and queens are rarely understood by those still living like servants. You are learning the language of rulership, the discipline of faith, the authority of peace, the strategy of silence. Those are not weaknesses, they are your royal tools. The danger lies in forgetting what you carry. When you doubt yourself, you dim your own light, making it easier for darkness to approach. But when you stand firm in identity, when you remember that your crown was placed by divine hands, the atmosphere around you shifts. Fear loses its grip, confusion retreats, and favor begins to flow again. The contest for your crown is almost over. The last stage of warfare always looks like chaos. It is the enemy's final attempt to make you quit. But heaven's decree has already gone forth. The angels assigned to your destiny are clearing your path even now. You are about to walk into visibility, not for applause, but for purpose. Hold your head high. Chosen one, the crown you carry may be invisible, but its weight is real. It glows with the authority of endurance, the beauty of scars, and the fragrance of obedience. You have not been fighting for nothing. You have been defending a legacy heaven intends to reveal through you. And soon, the world will see what heaven has always known: you were chosen to reign. Chosen one. The time has come to look into the mirror, not the one that reflects your face, but the one that reveals your soul. The test you are about to face will not measure your possessions, your knowledge, or even your visible achievements. It will weigh your heart, your intentions, and your alignment with truth. The battlefield is not outside of you, it is within you. You have conquered storms that others could not endure. You have silenced voices of doubt and pressed forward when everything in you wanted to quit. But now heaven turns the light inward. This next trial is not about endurance, it is about integrity. When no one is watching, who are you? When recognition fades, does your devotion remain? These are the questions heaven is asking. There is a moment in every chosen one's journey when God stops testing their hands and begins testing their motives. The external victories mean little if the heart that carries them is divided. This is that moment for you. The danger now is not failure, it is self-deception. For the greatest threat to destiny is not the enemy outside, but the compromises inside that go unnoticed. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 11, "When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me." That verse is not merely about age, it is about maturity, the spiritual transition from impulse to intention, from reaction to reflection. Heaven is asking you to grow beyond emotional faith into disciplined trust. Look carefully at your reflections. What fears still linger beneath the surface? What bitterness remains from betrayals long past? These hidden fragments, if left unhealed, become cracks through which darkness seeps. God's light does not expose to shame, it exposes to heal. When the light shines on you, it is not accusation, it is invitation. He reveals what must be released so that what is divine within you can expand freely. This is not an easy process. It feels like standing before a sacred fire that burns away everything false. Yet the fire is mercy. It consumes only what cannot remain. It is refining, not destroying. You will emerge lighter, clearer, more aligned with your original design. Heaven cannot elevate a heart still tied to resentment or guilt. So, in this season, every hidden weight is being brought to the surface. You may notice memories resurfacing, old wounds, words that once pierced deeply, moments you thought you had forgotten. Do not push them away. They rise because they are ready to be healed. The pain that once defined you is now ready to release you. Healing does not erase your story, it redeems it. Many think of mirrors as tools for vanity, but in the spirit realm, the mirror is revelation. It does not flatter, it clarifies. It shows you who you are becoming and what still stands between you and the next dimension of your purpose. The enemy will try to twist that reflection, to make you see only flaws and failures. But heaven's mirror reveals more. It shows potential hidden beneath imperfection. To look into that divine mirror requires courage. It means confronting the parts of yourself that no one else sees, the jealousy that whispers quietly, the pride disguised as confidence, the fear pretending to be logic. God is not asking for perfection, He is asking for honesty. The pure in heart are not those without flaw, they are those without pretense. This is the season of sacred accountability. Heaven is calling you to rise beyond comparison and performance. The question is no longer, how do I look to others, but am I in alignment with heaven's design for me? True power comes when your inner world reflects the same purity as your public words. And do not be surprised if relationships begin to shift again. When you see yourself clearly, you stop tolerating what dims your light. Some will interpret your growth as distance, but that is simply your spirit protecting its clarity. When you step into authenticity, not everyone can follow, and that's all right. Your reflection is not theirs to understand. So stand before the mirror and breathe. Look at the person you have become, the one who has survived storms, endured silence, and kept faith through confusion. The reflection before you is not just human, it is sacred design in progress. Heaven sees the masterpiece beneath the dust, the purpose behind every scar. Do not fear what this mirror shows you. You are not being judged, you are being prepared. The next chapter of your destiny requires truth as your armor and self-awareness as your sword. When you can look into that reflection and still choose grace, still choose surrender, still choose obedience, you have passed the test. You are the mirror and the reflection. Heaven sees itself in you, chosen one. This is the hour when truth begins to separate itself from illusion. Everything false that once clung to you, false peace, false friends, false security, will begin to crack and crumble. You may not understand it at first, but heaven is performing a sacred unraveling. What cannot stand in truth must fall. The breaking is not cruelty, it is mercy. For too long, you have carried what was never meant to go with you into the next season. You prayed for breakthrough, and heaven answered by dismantling the structures that trapped you. That is why certain relationships suddenly grew cold. Why the doors that once opened easily now resist. Heaven is not punishing you, it is protecting you. When divine light shines, deception cannot hide. Every connection built on convenience instead of covenant begins to shake. People who once celebrated you may now criticize you. Environments that once felt comfortable now feel suffocating. This discomfort is not rejection, it is revelation. Heaven is showing you who truly walks with you and who only walked beside you because of benefit. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah. Chapter 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord. Light always exposes. When your spirit begins to glow with purpose, those still dwelling in darkness cannot remain comfortable near you. Some will withdraw, others will resist, but both reactions reveal truth. You are entering the season of clarity. Masks will fall, words will be tested, and hearts will be revealed. The shaking you feel around you is not chaos, it is purification. Everything unstable is being removed, so that only what is built on truth can remain. In the past, you may have mistaken loyalty for love. You stayed connected to those who drained you because you feared being alone. But heaven says, better an empty room filled with peace than a crowded space filled with pretense. It is time to discern the difference between those who clap for your potential and those who carry your purpose. There will be moments when you question your perception. Am I being too harsh, too distant? But remember, even Jesus discerned who could not continue with him. When he chose the 12, he did not choose out of sentiment, he chose out of assignment. You must do the same. Sometimes, revelation looks like heartbreak. The truth about people or places you loved can sting. But truth never destroys what is divine, it only exposes what was false. And though exposure hurts, It brings healing that pretense never could. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus. Chapter 14, verse 14, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." That is your reminder. You do not need to defend your purity or explain your growth. The divine will handle what your words cannot. As the illusions break, you will find that what remains is pure, strong, and peaceful. You will notice your mind becoming quieter, your heart less reactive. You will breathe differently because your spirit will no longer carry counterfeit connections. The stillness you once feared will become your sanctuary. It may seem unfair that betrayal accompanies breakthrough, but it always has. Judas sat closest to Jesus before the cross. The enemy always tries to infiltrate proximity before purpose is revealed. But God allows it so that when you rise, there will be no doubt that grace alone sustained you. Do not curse the breaking. Do not mourn what must end. The friendships that faded were not failures, they were finishes. Heaven is simplifying your circle for strength. Those who remain after the shaking are those destined to build with you. You will soon recognize the beauty in truth. Authenticity will attract peace, and peace will attract divine timing. What once felt like loss will reveal itself as pruning, and the fruit that comes next will be purer, sweeter, and lasting. Now, I want you to take a deep breath and acknowledge this moment. You are standing in the sacred space between endings and beginnings. The sound you hear, the falling of what was, is not destruction, it is construction. Heaven is rebuilding your foundation with truth as its cornerstone. As a prophetic act, type, "I choose truth." When you write it, you are not simply agreeing, you are aligning. You are declaring to heaven and to yourself that deception no longer has permission to dwell in your atmosphere. You are saying, "I choose clarity over confusion, peace over performance, divine alignment over artificial approval." Let those three words be more than a comment. Let them become your covenant. Because every time you choose truth, you make room for heaven to move. Every time you refuse illusion, you strengthen your authority. Every time you let go of what looks good but drains your spirit, you prove that light has truly come. Chosen one, the shaking is not to destroy you, it is to reveal the unshakable within you. Let the illusions fall. Let truth rise. You are not losing stability, you are finding your center in what cannot be shaken. Stand still in the light. You are not breaking, you are being made new. Chosen one, heaven's scroll is unfolding before you. What was once sealed is now being opened. Every moment of obedience, every step of faith, every tear you shed in silence is being written into a divine record. You may not realize it, but heaven has been chronicling your journey, every heartbreak, every victory, every whispered yes you gave when no one else heard. Nothing is lost. The book of your life is not finished yet. New ink is flowing. You are standing at the edge of an unwritten chapter, one that will carry more weight than all that came before. Heaven has sent scribes of light to record what you choose in this very season. The choices of these days will define the tone of your future pages. You are not just living, you are being written, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. From the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8. See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. That door is before you now, not made of wood or stone, but of divine opportunity. It stands between your present and your promise. But heaven will not push you through it. You must walk. You felt the pull, haven't you? That inner stirring that says, something greater is calling. That's the sound of the scroll unrolling. The door has opened, but only faith can cross the threshold. Fear will keep you gazing, wondering, analyzing, but faith moves. Faith walks even when visibility is low. Faith trusts that the same God who opened the door will also sustain you on the other side. Imagine for a moment that your life is a tapestry stretched across eternity. Every act of kindness is a golden thread. Every moment of forgiveness adds another layer of color. Your doubts and wounds are darker strands, but even they are used by the weaver to add depth. You may not see the full picture yet, but heaven does. The design is breathtaking. You are a living artwork in progress, and every small act of obedience adds brilliance to the divine canvas. Many people rush through life, flipping pages, missing meaning, but you, chosen one, you are learning to pause, to listen, to let the author guide your pen. The most beautiful chapters are written not in haste, but in surrender. When you slow down enough to hear heaven's rhythm, you begin to live like poetry instead of panic. You may not think your story matters, but it does. Somewhere, someone is praying for the light that only your story can provide. Every breakthrough you experience becomes a lantern for another soul still wandering through darkness. You are both the page and the message, both the ink and the echo. Now, as this word reaches your heart, I want to speak to you sincerely. If these messages have touched your spirit, if they have helped you hear heaven a little clearer, then let's keep this river of truth flowing. When you like this message, you are adding a spark to the fire that keeps light burning in the digital wilderness. Each like is a small flame saying, "Keep the light on, I'm still listening." When you share, it's like passing a torch down a dark road. Somewhere, someone scrolling through despair may find hope in a single sentence. You never know whose night you might interrupt with light. When you subscribe, it's like building a camp at the edge of revelation, a safe place to return when the storms of life start roaring again. It's saying, I will not drift. I will stay where the light speaks. And if your heart ever stirs to donate, understand this, it is not a transaction, it's participation. Every gift sown into this message helps send light further. It helps reach the lost, the broken, the forgotten. It turns a digital platform into a ministry, a screen into a sanctuary. You're not just giving, you're helping write chapters in other people's stories. You're joining heaven's publishing house, where every act of generosity becomes ink on eternal pages. Picture it like this somewhere. A weary soul will hear the next message because of your seed. A mother battling hopelessness. A young man on the edge of giving up. A heart that hasn't felt seen in years. They will feel God reach for them because you kept the message alive. The scroll of heaven doesn't only record what you endure, it records what you give. Every act of kindness echoes in eternity. Every small gesture of faith creates ripples that never stop moving. So let your story keep unfolding with purpose. Keep your heart open, your spirit alert. The same pen that wrote your pain is now writing your redemption. The same ink that marked your tears is now being used to write your triumph. Heaven's author never leaves a story unfinished, and yours is about to reach a divine crescendo. You may not see all that's being written right now, but one day you will. You'll look back and realize that every detour was a sentence, Every silence, a comma. Every victory, a line of praise. Beloved chosen one, your name is being recorded in light. Heaven's scroll is still turning, and the next page waits for your obedience. Chosen one. The air feels still. Doesn't it, like the world has paused mid-breath, waiting for something unseen? You can sense it, the hush before a divine shift. It is not silence of absence, but silence of preparation. Heaven is holding its breath with you. The scrolls have been opened. The battles fought in unseen realms. And now creation itself is pausing before your next step. This is the hour of silence before the shift. Stillness is uncomfortable for those who are used to motion. You've grown accustomed to pushing, striving, moving forward. But now, heaven commands stillness, because divine power is never born in hurry. The most powerful movements of God often begin in moments when nothing seems to move. It was the same with the prophet Elijah, hiding in the cave, waiting for God to speak. The wind roared, the earth shook. Fire burned across the mountainside, but God was not in any of those. Then came a whisper, a still, small voice that carried more weight than thunder. This is that moment for you now. The noise has faded so that you can hear the whisper. The voice that once urged you to keep running now tells you to wait. Waiting is not weakness, it is warfare. To wait when everything inside screams for action is one of the highest forms of faith. The silence is not punishment, it is alignment. Heaven is synchronizing your next move with divine timing. The Word of God declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 37, verse 7, "Be still before the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes." These words are your anchor in this stillness. When others seem to advance while you are paused, do not envy them. They are running ahead of timing, while you are being perfected within it. There is sacred power in waiting. The seed buried beneath the soil does not demand proof of growth. It simply stays hidden until the time appointed by heaven calls it forth. So too are you being incubated in quietness. What looks like inactivity is actually deep transformation. Roots are strengthening. Identity is solidifying. And clarity is sharpening beneath the surface. In this silence, your spirit learns to listen again. You begin to hear frequencies you once missed, the subtle confirmations, the soft corrections, the gentle leading of grace. God often hides the loud to reveal the precise. The silence strips away distraction, so only truth remains. This hour before the shift is sacred because it separates the impulsive from the faithful. Many cannot endure stillness. They mistake divine pause for divine absence. But you, beloved, have grown wiser. You have learned that silence is often the sound of God rearranging your path. Think of an archer drawing back a bow. The moment of greatest tension is the moment before release. The arrow seems to move backward, yet that retreat is what gives it the power to fly forward. That's what this silence feels like, the pullback before the launch. The farther back the tension, the farther forward the flight. The stillness also reveals what remains in your heart. When motion stops, truth speaks. You begin to see what your soul clings to for comfort, validation, control, recognition. Heaven pauses movement to teach surrender. Only when your peace no longer depends on progress will you be trusted with promise. Sometimes the silence is a test of perception. God hides not to distance himself, but to deepen your sight. The quiet teaches you to discern his presence even when you cannot feel it. That awareness is maturity, the knowing that faith is not emotion, but conviction. And while you wait, remember, silence is never empty. Heaven is busy on your behalf. Angels are organizing paths, aligning hearts, dismantling traps you didn't even know were set. Every unseen thread is being woven into divine order. Do not mistake delay for denial. What feels like nothing is the birthplace of everything. The womb of silence carries destiny in its stillness. You are in gestation, not stagnation. The shift will come suddenly, so suddenly that you'll understand why the waiting had to last as long as it did. The key is not to fill the quiet with noise. Resist the urge to distract yourself from discomfort. Let the silence speak. Let it press on the places you've avoided. It is revealing not your weakness, but your readiness. The night before the dawn is always the darkest, not because the light has disappeared, but because it is gathering strength. The silence you are in is collecting energy for manifestation. When it breaks, it will not trickle, it will thunder. So breathe. Rest your spirit. Stop scanning for signs of progress and start trusting the process itself. The silence is holy ground. Every moment you remain faithful in stillness becomes an altar of surrender. Heaven is watching, not to judge, but to honor the one who can wait and still believe. And when the shift comes, and it will happen so smoothly that you will realize the waiting was never wasted. The same stillness that once tested you will become the rhythm of your new peace. Chosen one, this is your sacred pause before movement, the silence before the symphony. Hold steady, for soon the music will rise. Chosen one, the air around you has changed. You can feel it, can't you? The closer you move toward breakthrough, the stronger the pull of temptation becomes. It doesn't arrive as something ugly or obvious. It comes wrapped in comfort, disguised as logic, appearing safe and sensible. This is the final temptation, the test designed not to destroy you, but to determine whether your heart is truly ready for the glory ahead. Every time you are about to cross into a new level of purpose, the enemy offers a counterfeit door. It looks easier, faster, and even feels peaceful at first. But it always costs authenticity. It always asks for a small compromise, the kind that seems harmless now but grows into chains later. The danger of this moment is not failure, but settling for what looks divine yet isn't. You are standing at the threshold between almost and arrival. The temptation before you is the same one that met Jesus in the wilderness, the whisper that says, "Take the shortcut. You deserve relief. You've waited long enough." But shortcuts in the spirit are traps. They promise rest, but produce regression. Every chosen soul must confront this voice before they can carry authority. The Word of God declares in the book of Matthew, chapter 4, verse 10, "Then Jesus said to him, 'Away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God, and serve him only.'" That moment was not just about resisting sin, it was about protecting purpose. Temptation always attacks alignment, never random behavior. It comes to shift your focus from assignment to appetite. You have been faithful through storms, patient through silence, resilient through rejection. But now, heaven allows one last test, not to break you, but to prove that your obedience is unshakable. This is the fire that separates those who are chosen from those who are merely called. Temptation does not always arrive through people or pleasure. Sometimes it arrives as weariness. The longing to rest can become a trap if it leads you to abandon what you were born to do. The enemy doesn't need to make you sin. He only needs to make you stop. He whispers, "You've done enough," hoping you'll sit down right before the finish line. Pay attention to what's being offered to you now. Opportunities that appear convenient but require you to silence conviction. Relationships that feel warm but drain your spirit. Paths that seem promising yet pull you away from prayer. These are not coincidences, they are counterfeits. This is the moment where discernment must be sharper than emotion. Heaven is watching not to condemn, but to confirm. Every time you choose truth over temptation, another door of destiny unlocks. Every time you refuse to settle, the kingdom expands around you. Do not underestimate how close you are to your unveiling. The battle intensifies before breakthrough because the enemy always attacks proximity. He cannot stop what heaven has decreed, but he can distract you from stepping into it. He sends small comforts to keep you from crossing into calling. When you feel the pressure to compromise, pause and remember everything you've endured has been for this exact hour. The nights of pain, the seasons of waiting, the sacrifices you made in silence, they were not preparation for surrender, they were training for steadfastness. Heaven will not let you lose what you have labored for, but it will watch to see if you protect it. The final temptation often comes wrapped in kindness. It doesn't roar, it whispers. It tells you that you can have both obedience and indulgence, that you can mix divine purpose with worldly comfort. But dual loyalty dilutes destiny. You cannot walk in two directions and arrive in one promise. So, make this your declaration of resistance. Type 555 inches the comments. Let that number represent grace multiplied, the divine empowerment to endure and overcome. The number 555 symbolizes transformation through testing, the kind that refines your spirit rather than crushes it. When you type it, you are saying, "I will not yield to imitation blessings. I will wait for what is truly mine." Each number you type is a prophetic signal in the spiritual realm, a light flaring in the dark, saying that another chosen one has chosen endurance over ease. It's not superstition, it's participation. You are bearing witness to heaven's process and proclaiming that your obedience is still intact. You are not fighting for what you don't have, you are protecting what you've already gained. The crown is already yours. Temptation simply tries to convince you to set it down. But you are stronger than that. You are wiser now, more discerning, more attuned to the quiet warnings of the Spirit. Do not fear this final test. It is not sent to destroy, it is sent to verify. Like gold in the fire, your heart will emerge purer, brighter, untouchable by the lies that once intimidated you. The very pressure meant to weaken you will polish you instead. Hold steady. Chosen one, when this storm passes, and it will, you will not just survive, you will shine. The hands of heaven are steadying you even now. Grace is covering your hesitation. Strength is rising from within. And clarity is piercing through confusion. The final temptation is never about the temptation itself. It's about identity. The enemy wouldn't tempt what he didn't fear. That's proof enough you are dangerously close to the promise. Resist the counterfeit. Wait for the authentic. Your reward is not delayed, it is being defined. Chosen one, the fire has arrived not to consume you, but to refine you. This is the part of the journey few speak about, because it is not beautiful to the eyes, though it is holy to the spirit. The flames you feel surrounding you are not punishment, they are purification. You are being prepared for authority that requires purity, for influence that requires integrity. The fire comes to prove what you are made of. Everything that is false burns away. Everything that is genuine glows brighter. Heaven does not use comfort to strengthen warriors, it uses fire. You prayed to carry power, and God answered by allowing pressure. Fire and purpose always walk together. There are two kinds of heat in the spiritual life, the heat that destroys and the heat that defines. The first belongs to rebellion, the second to refinement. You are standing in the second one. God is not angry with you, He is shaping you. The flames you feel are His hands, reshaping your character, hardening your resolve, and softening your heart all at once. It was proclaimed in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 1, verse 7, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind." Fear screams in the fire, but love listens. The sound mind doesn't panic when everything burns, it recognizes transformation in disguise. The refining fire exposes attachments you didn't know existed. It reveals where your trust still depends on outcomes instead of presence. It shows you what idols you still cling to: approval, certainty, control. God allows the heat so those lesser loves can melt away, leaving room for what is eternal. Every chosen soul must walk through this furnace before walking in fullness. Even gold, as radiant as it appears, contains impurities until it meets fire. The longer the gold remains in heat, the clearer its reflection becomes. Heaven wants to see its image in you unblurred, unwavering. That's why the flames have intensified lately. The higher your calling, the hotter your refining. You may have asked, "Why now? Haven't I already endured enough?" Yet the truth is, the closer you get to manifestation, the more precise the purification becomes. Early trials shaped your strength. This one is shaping your spirit. It is no longer about endurance, it's about essence. When God refines, He removes not just visible flaws but invisible weights. You may feel stripped of everything: familiar routines, comforts, even certain people, but that's part of the process. The fire simplifies you. It burns away distractions, leaving only what truly matters. It feels like loss, but it's liberation. Think of a silversmith standing over molten metal. He doesn't walk away when the heat rises, he stays near, watching closely. He knows the exact moment when the silver is pure enough, when he can see his reflection in it. That's what God is doing with you. The fire remains until His image is visible in your reactions, in your words, in your motives. And when it is, He pulls you out, not a second too soon, not a second too late. It's tempting to pray for escape, but the wiser prayer is for endurance. The moment you stop fighting the fire and start cooperating with it, peace enters even the heat. The flames that once terrified you become teachers instead of tormentors. You begin to realize that refinement is proof of trust. God doesn't waste fire on the unchosen. The refining process also changes how you see others. You begin to discern who has been through fire and who hasn't. Those who have endured carry a quiet authority, a humility that can't be faked. Their words carry weight because they were forged in truth. That's what heaven is doing in you. It's removing the performance, the pretense, the need to impress. What remains will be authentic, steady, and pure. The fire purges not only what's wrong, but also what's unnecessary. Sometimes the good must go so the divine can grow. You may lose things that once seemed essential, but if they cannot endure heat, they cannot accompany you into glory. Fire never destroys what is meant to remain, it strengthens it. Even now, the embers around you are shifting. The temperature is changing. You can feel the transformation deep within. The parts of you that once trembled are learning to trust. The fears that once ruled you are dissolving like smoke. You are not being undone, you are being unveiled. And when the fire lifts, you will notice the difference. Your words will carry power, your presence will bring peace. Those who once doubted you will see a light in your eyes they cannot explain. You won't need to prove yourself. The fire will have done that for you. Chosen one, endure this furnace with faith. Do not curse the heat that crowns you. This is the sacred passage every vessel of glory must endure. You are not burning, you are becoming. The flames that surround you are heaven's way of saying, you are ready for more. Hold your ground. The fire is almost finished, and when it ends, you will step out radiant, untouched by smoke, carrying the scent of heaven. Chosen one, the air around you feels lighter now. The fire has done its work. The smoke that once blurred your sight has begun to clear, and with it, a new awareness is forming. You are starting to see connections you never noticed before, threads woven between moments that once felt random. What was once chaos now reveals divine choreography. This is the revelation of alignment. Every season of your life, every delay, every heartbreak, every closed door, they were not isolated events. They were puzzle pieces being arranged in heaven's sequence. You have walked through confusion, but now revelation begins to dawn. Alignment is not something you achieve, it's something you awaken to. It is the moment you realize that even your detours were divine routes in disguise. Heaven never wastes movement. Every step you've taken, even the ones you regret, has been accounted for in the blueprint of grace. The same God who wrote your destiny also anticipated your missteps. That is why, despite everything, you are still here standing, breathing, understanding. Alignment is not about perfection, it's about correction. It's when your will and God's will finally begin to move in rhythm. The ancient words recorded in Romans chapter 8, verse 28, still echo today, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. This is the anthem of alignment, proof that even pain participates in promise. In the stillness after the fire, new coordinates begin to appear. People start crossing your path who speak the same language of destiny. Ideas that once felt out of reach suddenly find traction. Doors open that no human effort could have unlocked. This is not luck, it's timing. Divine timing is heaven's signature written across your obedience. You will notice that alignment is not about abundance, it's about accuracy. Sometimes heaven will prune your schedule, limit your circle, even reduce your options. Not because you are being punished, but because precision requires focus. You are not meant to chase everything, you are meant to carry something specific. Alignment makes sure you do. Think of a great orchestra tuning its instruments before the performance. The sound is chaotic at first, each musician playing a different note, each string vibrating in its own way. But then the conductor raises his hand, and every sound harmonizes into one. That is what heaven is doing with your life. Every note of your journey, once dissonant, is now tuning itself to divine pitch. When you walk in alignment, peace becomes your confirmation. It doesn't mean there's no challenge, it means there's no confusion. Even when the path ahead seems uncertain, something deep within assures you, this is the way. Walk in it. The storms don't stop, but your heart no longer trembles. That is the evidence of alignment. You stop striving and start flowing. Alignment also changes your relationships. People who carry the same fire will begin to find you. Their presence will not drain but ignite you. Conversations will shift from gossip to purpose, from fear to faith. The language of heaven will echo between you. These are not coincidences, they are divine intersections arranged by unseen hands. Do not rush this season. The temptation after fire is to move quickly, to prove that the refining wasn't wasted. But alignment unfolds slowly, like dawn spreading across the horizon. It doesn't burst, it reveals. Every morning brings a little more light, a little more understanding. In this phase, discernment is your compass. Every opportunity will look appealing, but not every door is yours to enter. Heaven will guide you through peace, not pressure. When something feels forced, it's not aligned. When something flows effortlessly, even if it challenges you, it carries heaven's signature. Remember this truth: alignment is heaven's reward for endurance. The seasons of pain were not random, they were necessary to remove resistance. The times you thought you were being delayed, you were actually being aligned. You are stepping now into the portion of your journey where things begin to make sense. Take a breath and notice how different you feel. The anxiety that once followed every decision is fading. The need for approval is dissolving. You are not guessing anymore, you are guided. Your heart beats in rhythm with heaven's timing. Alignment doesn't mean you will never face storms again. But now, even in the storm, your direction remains steady. You know who you are, where you're going, and who walks beside you. You are synchronized with something eternal. Chosen one. What once felt like chaos was choreography. Every tear, every delay, every detour was part of the symphony. Now you walk not by fear, but by frequency, the frequency of divine order. Stay aligned, stay aware, and let grace continue to tune every step. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Chosen one. Do you feel it? The vibration in the atmosphere, the pulse of something sacred stirring inside the unseen. This is the sound of heaven's trumpet. It is not a sound your physical ears can catch, yet your spirit hears it clearly. It's the same resonance that shook the walls of Jericho, the same divine frequency that calls the sleeping back to purpose. You are being summoned not by man, but by heaven itself. December 13 is no longer just approaching, it is unfolding. The heavens have begun to move, and the trumpet of destiny has sounded over your name. The world around you may appear ordinary, but in the spirit, the sky is roaring. Heaven is declaring, "Rise, for the time of fulfillment has come." As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 5, verse 25, "Very truly, the time is coming, and now is when the dead will hear the Son of God." This is that time, the moment when everything dormant within you begins to awaken. You have been through darkness, through fire, through silence, and through realignment. Now, the trumpet calls you to step out of the ashes, carrying authority. Heaven is announcing your emergence. You are no longer being hidden, you are being heralded. Think of it like standing at dawn after a long night. The sun is not up yet, but the sky is turning silver at the edges. Birds begin to sing before they see the light, they sense it. That's what your spirit feels now, the first song of morning after years of night. The trumpet is the confirmation that your dawn is near. This call from heaven doesn't always sound like celebration, it can sound like responsibility. It invites you into deeper service, greater surrender, and bolder faith. The sound of the trumpet marks both promotion and purpose. You are being entrusted with new territory, not for status, but for stewardship. The time of hesitation has ended. The trumpet does not repeat itself for those who ignore it. When heaven calls, you must respond, not with fear, but with faith. Every chosen soul hears this sound once, the moment when heaven says, "Now." You are in that moment. And as you stand beneath this sound, I want to speak from the heart. If these words have awakened something within you, if they've reminded you that you're not alone in the spiritual battle, then join your light with ours. When you like this message, it's not just approval, it's agreement. It's as if your spirit is lifting its hand in the unseen, saying, "I hear the trumpet." Every like adds to the chorus of faith echoing across this earth. When you share, it's like sounding your own trumpet in the darkness. Somewhere, someone scrolling through despair might stop for 1 second, and that second could save them. You might never know whose chain broke because you hit share, but heaven records it. When you subscribe, it's like finding your place in the army of light. Think of it as stepping into formation, one soldier among many. Standing shoulder to shoulder in faith, you're saying, "I won't walk alone. I'll stay connected to the voice that reminds me who I am." And if you feel led to donate, let your giving become the echo of that trumpet. Every seed you sow keeps the sound alive, helps this message reach further into homes, hospitals, prison cells, and hearts that need rescue. It's not a transaction, it's participation in a divine broadcast. You become a carrier of light disguised as generosity. Picture it like this: every dollar becomes a ripple in eternity. Every act of support, another wave of hope that travels farther than your eyes can see. Maybe a stranger in another nation will hear the next message because of you. Maybe a weary soul will feel seen again. That is the quiet miracle of giving. It multiplies light. If this message has stirred your heart, write something in the comments. Speak your truth. Share what you feel. Declare what resonates. When you comment, you add your voice to the symphony of the called. Heaven listens when chosen ones speak. The trumpet is sounding, and this is your moment to rise. The same fire that once purified you now lights your path. You are not walking out of the ashes empty, you are walking out crowned. You are heaven's announcement in human form, the proof that grace still chooses the unlikely. Lift your head. The trumpet is not only calling you forward, it is declaring to every force of darkness, the chosen have awakened, and you, beloved, are among them, chosen one. This is the moment heaven has been preparing you for, the rewriting of your story. You have passed through darkness, walked through fire, endured silence, and remained faithful through trials that would have broken lesser souls. Now, the unseen pen of God moves across the pages of your life. The ink is not black, it glows with light. Every line, once written in sorrow, is being rewritten in redemption. Heaven is editing your narrative, not to erase your past, but to redefine it. Every failure becomes a footnote of wisdom. Every heartbreak becomes a headline of transformation. The story that once read like tragedy is being revised into testimony. You are not starting over, you are being written forward. When divine rewriting begins, it does not always come with noise. Sometimes it starts in a quiet realization you begin to see differently. The pain that used to define you now refines you. The memories that once made you weep now make you worship. This is the power of divine authorship. Nothing is wasted, not even the mistakes. As was written in the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 25. I will restore to you the years the locust has eaten away. Those words are not poetic comfort, they are divine decree. Restoration is not a metaphor, it is a promise. The years you thought were lost are being rewritten into purpose. What was stolen will return in multiplied form. This rewriting is not about revenge or repayment, it's about realignment. Heaven is taking what the enemy meant for evil and turning it into a platform for glory. The betrayal that once wounded you becomes the bridge that carries others to healing. The rejection that once silenced you becomes the reason your voice now carries authority. Look closely at your life right now. The things you thought were endings are revealing themselves as transitions. The relationships that ended painfully taught you discernment. The jobs or dreams that collapsed taught you endurance. The moments that nearly broke you birthed compassion. You have become richer in spirit because of what you endured. That is the evidence that heaven is rewriting your story, not by changing the events, but by transforming the meaning behind them. Every great story has turning points, and this is yours. You are standing at the chapter where the tone shifts. Heaven is changing the narrative voice. Where once the lines were filled with survival, they now pulse with sovereignty. Where there was shame, now there is strength. Where there was silence, now there is song. Think of your life as a scroll that has passed through storm and fire. The edges are singed, the ink smeared, yet the author refuses to discard it. Instead, he smooths the parchment, breathes over it, and begins again. The same hand that wrote your beginning is now writing your renewal. Many believe rewriting means forgetting, but heaven's rewriting is the opposite. It redeems memory. You will remember what happened, but the memory will no longer sting. The events stay the same, the emotion changes. Pain loses its authority when grace holds the pen. Sometimes, you may still see remnants of the old story, echoes of fear, whispers of failure, but they no longer define the plot. They are shadows on the margin of light. You are not the character you once were. You have evolved through revelation. Heaven doesn't rewrite to erase identity, it writes to reveal it. This process happens not only in spirit, but in the physical. You will soon notice divine reversals in your circumstances. Places where you once lost are becoming sources of gain. Relationships once closed will reopen under new light. Opportunities you thought expired will resurrect in unexpected ways. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. The author is active, and yet, rewriting requires your cooperation. You must let go of the need to control the pen. Surrender is not weakness, it's partnership. Every time you stop striving and start trusting, you make space for divine creativity. The greatest miracles occur when you allow heaven to edit your expectations. The story being written now carries weight beyond your personal journey. It will ripple into generations. What you overcome becomes the inheritance of those who come after you. Your faith is not just rewriting your life, it's rewriting your lineage. You are ending patterns of pain and beginning cycles of grace. If you could see the unseen, you would notice how heaven celebrates this moment. Angels stand like witnesses in a courtroom as your narrative is declared renewed. The old accusations no longer apply. The sentence has been overturned. You walk free not because you denied your past, but because you surrendered it. Chosen one. The ink is still wet on the page. Heaven continues to write even now. Do not rush to close the book. The best chapters have only begun. Your story will become a psalm of redemption, a living scripture of how mercy rewrites even the most broken lines. Read your life again with new eyes. What once looked like ruin now reads as resurrection. The author has not finished, and he never makes mistakes. Chosen one. The 13th day has passed. The storm that raged has quieted. The air feels different now, lighter, clearer, carrying the fragrance of something new. You have walked through danger and come out untouched. The test that threatened to undo you has instead revealed who you truly are. You stand now as one reborn, not merely delivered from darkness, but transformed by it. This is the dawn of the new you, the you heaven always saw, but the world had not yet met. You may not yet recognize yourself. The same mirror that once reflected weariness now reflects authority. Your eyes carry the calm of one who has seen both chaos and grace and learned they can coexist. There's a depth in your silence now, a peace that doesn't depend on circumstance. That's how heaven marks its warriors, not with crowns of gold, but with calm that cannot be stolen. The word of God declares in the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 3, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. That verse is your reflection now. You are walking proof that ashes do not end stories, they fertilize them. Everything that once wounded you has become wisdom. Every delay that once frustrated you has become discipline. The loneliness that once felt cruel has become intimacy with the divine. Heaven never wastes a wilderness. It transforms deserts into sanctuaries. What once looked like an ending was really the beginning of sovereignty. Look around you, not with your eyes, but with your spirit. The scenery has changed. The things that used to disturb your peace no longer reach you. The noise that once filled your mind has faded into background hum. You are no longer reacting, you are ruling. That is the true sign of transformation, not that storms stop coming, but that you no longer bow to their rhythm. The fire you endured in previous seasons has become the light you now carry. It glows quietly from within, attracting those lost in their own nights. You do not need to shout your transformation, your presence speaks it. Where you go, clarity follows. Where you stand, confusion cannot linger long. You have become an atmosphere changer, an embodiment of the very hope you once sought. This is what heaven meant when it whispered that the test would rewrite your story. You thought it would change your circumstances, but it changed your core instead. You have learned that true deliverance is not the removal of struggle, it is the revelation of strength. There will be moments ahead when you are tempted to return to old rhythms, to think and act as the former you did. But that version of yourself no longer exists. The wilderness removed what could not cross into promise. You are no longer surviving, you are reigning. The new you doesn't chase approval, it walks in assurance. It doesn't beg for direction, it breathes purpose. Think of yourself as a tree after the storm. The branches may bear the marks of wind and rain, but the roots have grown deeper. The bark may be scarred, but life flows stronger beneath it. The same winds that tried to break you forced your roots to grip eternity tighter. You are stronger, not despite the storm, but because of it. This new chapter will not be free of challenges, but you will meet them differently now. Fear will approach but find no room. Doubt will whisper but hear no reply. Your spirit has matured beyond panic. You've tasted the stability that comes from trust. And once a soul has known that flavor, it cannot return to anxiety. The world will begin to notice your shift. Some will call it confidence, others mystery, but heaven knows it as glory. You have become a vessel of presence. You carry peace the way others carry fragrance unseen, yet undeniable. Even your silence will speak healing into rooms. Do not rush to define this new season. It will unfold naturally, like morning light spreading across a quiet field. What you are now carries its own gravity, the right people, opportunities, and revelations will orbit toward you. All you need to do is stay rooted in gratitude. You are walking into a life that feels both unfamiliar and inevitable. The past has not been erased, it has been integrated. You are whole, not because nothing broke you, but because everything did. And you rose anyway. Heaven smiles over you now. The final test has passed. The pages of your story shine with new ink. And as the dawn expands, you realize something profound. Danger was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal you. Chosen one, step into this morning with steady breath. The darkness no longer defines you. You are light living, luminous, and unshakable. This is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of eternity's reflection through you. Chosen one, you've reached the end of this message, but not the end of your transformation. The story that began in shadows now stands radiant in light. You've walked through warning, through revelation, through refinement, and now you stand as proof that heaven always finishes what it starts. You are living testimony that divine words do not return empty. Every step, every tear, every prayer whispered through exhaustion has led you here to clarity, to renewal, to the beginning of your next chapter. And though these words may fade from the screen, their echo will remain within you. If this journey has stirred something deep inside, if a phrase reminded you of who you are, or if a moment of silence between the sentences felt like God Himself breathing peace into you, then don't let that light stay with you alone. Like this message as a quiet amen, an acknowledgement that heaven has spoken to your heart. Share it, not for numbers or reach, but because someone else might be where you once were in the middle of the storm, praying for a sign that they're not forgotten. You might be the bridge that carries them toward faith again. Comment what part resonated with you. Let your words become another voice in the chorus of the chosen. There is power in testimony. Your story strengthens others in ways you may never see. And if you haven't yet, subscribe not to follow a person, but to stay close to the sound of messages that remind you of heaven's rhythm. This isn't the end. It's an open gate to everything yet to come. The light you carry now is meant to travel. Keep it burning. Keep it alive. The world needs what has been awakened in you.